Hi friends, it's Melissa in Minnesota and welcome to my channel again. This is part two of my gluten intolerance, my story of how I learned I was gluten intolerant, my diagnosis when I went to see my doctor, and what I'm doing going forward to learn to live gluten-free. Um, I'm going to warn you, this will probably get long. Grab a cup of tea. I'm going to say don't grab a snack. This is my story, and I'm going to get a little personal. And gluten issues sometimes can not be very nice. If any of you guys are starting to experience those and you're looking for someone that's intolerant or has celiac disease, then this will be the channel that you may want to tune to. It's going to get real. My advice is what I'm experiencing, what people that I know personally that have celiac disease or gluten intolerance may experience, and it's life. It's life can get messy sometimes, and that's the way it is. So this is my channel, and I'm going to keep it real. So we're not going to sugarcoat anything. When I was doing research, I found that it's people have to be honest. This is a disease. It's an immune attacking disorder that sometimes it's not rosy. It's real. So this is it, and this is the second part of my story. So I've noticed that through my research, it seemed like it's a relatively new disease. I mean, there's a lot of information about what gluten is, but there is not a lot of information about how really it affects somebody's body. There's information about symptoms that are coming up, and I will just say that I've had a hard time finding information that's actually applied to my situation. There's been so much um, contradictory. You can use this product, you can use that product, you may have um, this symptom or this issue if you eat this, or you may not. So, with my story, I'm going to let you know, following me. Anybody can follow me, but I'm going to let you know I am at the extreme end of the gluten intolerance, which means, um, and I'll kind of refresh this too later on, exactly what I mean by it, as I dub myself a canary in a coal mine, which means I am so sensitive to gluten, wheat, barley, rye, contamination, like oats or any contaminated food whatsoever will cause me major distress. And so my gluten intolerance, I can say as of January 2013, when I finally went in to see a doctor, from now, so it's now March 2014, over a year, I think I've gotten a pretty good handle on this. But before that, I'm going to say it was a crapshoot. And sometimes I tell you, I didn't know what was going on with my body. I didn't know what was going on with me. Um, and I know that people's experience, you have different symptoms, there's different levels of sensitivity, people experience different reactions, but the end result at the end of the day is, if you take gluten away from your um, routine, your eating, and you feel better, you found the culprit. And I know that some people, because the reason I'm doing this channel is I've had people question, how did you find out? How did you know? Um, and it. I can trace this back over 12 years. I didn't have a really good clue until the last part of 2013, and through 2013 to 2014, I learned exactly how sensitive I was. But people are coming to me going, I had this symptom and could it be related? And there are so many symptoms that are related to what we eat. And a major factor is gluten sensitivity. It's all linking to that. And this is my opinion, and this is what I'm going through, and everybody may not agree with this, but I'm starting this channel in case someone has an issue like I do. So, you know, I can give you the symptoms that I had, and you can kind of match and see. But personally, um, things that I experienced was migraines, extreme tiredness. I mean, I'm talking about, you would eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and by 5 or 6 o'clock, I was so tired. I mean, I would get tired during the day, like 3 or 4, but after I ate all the meals, and I guess things just accumulated in my body, the gluten, not things, but the gluten kind of built up in my body by 5 or 6. I just wanted to go to bed. And I am a mom. I have two boys. I have a 12 and a 9-year old, and I have a husband. And it got so bad that, I would go in my room, and literally for the last couple months before I was diagnosed, I wasn't a mom anymore. I wasn't a wife anymore. It wasn't doable for me. I was just so tired that, I couldn't function. I couldn't be a mom. I couldn't be a wife. And I also found one of the issues that I had was mood swings. And I will admit, I was 40, I'm 41, um, and I thought, okay, am I going through the change of life early? What's going on? I had such anger issues, and it's because I felt ill. I was so nauseated sometimes because of the buildup from gluten in my body that I couldn't function. And I also, one of the things about being, I guess, being so tired at 5 or 6 at night, it was kind of a way I shut myself in our bedroom, and um, I was so afraid that I was going to snap or just say something to my husband. It wasn't even anything that I meant. I didn't know why I was being mean or why I was so angry. And it was just the cause that gluten was having on my body. And it was so scary that, I didn't know what was going on. And that was just the underside. That's not something you talk about. It's, why I'm so angry. My 9-year old, he spilled a glass of milk, and literally I probably could have snapped his head off. And I'm going to say that. And I'm a mom, and that's not the way I feel about my children. I love my children. I would never harm them, and I couldn't understand why I was feeling that way. And you just kind of don't talk about that stuff, and you don't want you're even with your friends, you're not a bad mom. And it's the way that things were happening. But the symptoms that I was experiencing, the food issues I could talk about. And I was, I don't know, I was lucky. I'm going to say I was lucky. I have no one that I know on my immediate side of the family, but I married into um, my husband's side, and there are two people, not blood related. Well, his brother, so that would be my brother in law, has been diagnosed with celiac disease. My husband's father's wife, so again, not blood related, um, has a gluten intolerance. Now, she's more on the mild side than my brother in law or I, but we kind of, through discussing food issues, that's kind of how I started realizing, like, I eat, and it's like an hour after I eat, I'm so nauseous. Or, and that was kind of end of 2013. Things progressed more than that. It was actually, let's see, October 2013. I ate 2 slices of pizza, and my husband and I were going out on a date with some of our friends. And so we ate. Within an hour of eating the 2 slices of pizza, we got to, I'm sorry, keeping track of the time. I know this is going to get long, so bear with me, but I promise this will be educational. Um, Within an hour after I ate, we got to the concert, and the concert was 4 hours. I spent the entire time that I was there in the bathroom, pretty throwing up. It's like I said, gluten intolerance gets graphic, and that was one of the symptoms that I had. I threw up for 4 hours because of that pizza, and that's the first connection. I'm going, oh my gosh, it's what I ate, and it was starting to affect my body that bad that gluten was in my body, and my body wanted it out. It was toxic. It had to get out. And there was, I mean, after I got sick, the 4 hours, I started to feel better. And I was actually sober cab that night, so I drove everybody home. And I felt better. The next day, I noticed I had what people with gluten intolerance will call a foggy brain, where sometimes putting words together was hard for me to do. And I noticed that it was sometimes my boys would end up finishing my sentences because I guess it was taking me a little longer to get things out because literally I couldn't think. I knew the word I wanted to say, but it sometimes just wouldn't come out. So that was in October. November we went on a we kind of do a staycation, but it's usually family members will get together for Thanksgiving, Christmas, that time to kind of get together, and our family members from within state will meet at one place. And at that time, I knew that the October issue, I needed to start watching what I was eating and see if that affected me, because I started doing some research and my symptoms, it's like everything that I looked up on celiac or gluten intolerance was like, you know, sorry, debilitating pain, abdominal cramps, diarrhea, and I'm like, I don't have that. Or constipation was another. I'm like, I don't have any of that. I just throw up, and that's the only symptom that I knew that I had besides the tiredness and anger, and I didn't know that that was a factor into the gluten until later. But I started talking to my brother-in-law, and he's like, I get kind of nauseous sometimes when I eat something that has gluten, or um, and that's one of the symptoms. And I thought, man, could I that be it? And it may be. So December 2013, I got home from that vacation. So it was in December that we met. We got home. I called the doctor, and I couldn't get in until it was like the second week of January. And so immediately from, um, well, I would say from November until the time that I got in my doctor was January. And I started keeping track of everything I ate, and it was unbelievable that I noticed when I had completely eliminated some of the gluten things. Like from that time, I was eating salads, um, and I was keeping it simple. There was no dressing because I didn't know what gluten was in, because my brother-in-law said it can be hidden in everything. So I knew, okay, I'm going to stick with God's bounty, what comes from Mother Nature, vegetables, um, fruits, and I knew that he recommended certain things. So Van's gluten-free waffles, bananas, and there was a peanut butter that he recommended. That's what I lived off of for like 2 months until I got to see my doctor. And I cannot tell you within 2 weeks time how much better I felt. It was completely, I'm like, I haven't felt this good in years. And I'm like, I knew that's what it was. So January, I went in, I saw the doctor. I had, a list of everything I ate, how I felt that day, happy faces if I was good, sad faces. Um, Ate at lunch, hour later, felt nauseous, so I knew what I'd eaten, within that time. There must have been something. And like I said, that December to January, all I was eating from that certain time was the salads and gluten-free waffles, and I couldn't believe the change in my attitude. My body was feeling better. I wasn't as tired. And I went in, and she's like, if that's making you feel good, then it has to be gluten. She goes, there's not really anything. She goes, the only way for people with celiac disease and a gluten intolerance is to live a gluten-free life. That is the only way to be better. That is the only way that one can be better. Um, so she said, okay, well, we can do, the kicker is blood test and an intestinal biopsy. Those were the two options that I had. And she goes, in order to do both of those, you have to go back on gluten. And because of my incidents in October, there was no way I wanted to do that whatsoever. So that was kind of the deciding factor. The blood test was going to be the cost for me, even though we have insurance, was going to be $400. So that was kind of waived. And like I said, with the biopsy, she's like, unless you go back on gluten, there's no way to get a positive test. And she goes, either one of those, whether you go back on gluten or not, they can come out negative, and they might not be, you might not be diagnosed with celiac. So she goes, I'm definitely going to say you have a gluten intolerance because you've kept a log, you know what you eat, you know when you feel better, and that was kind of the deciding factor, that's the way I left it in January. Um, so briefly, I can say that I can track it back 12 years, and to say that is that the symptoms that you can have are migraines. I had migraines going back, like I said, 12 years, and I thought it was an allergy to Parmesan cheese because I could not eat Parmesan cheese when it was on salads, and I could not eat it when it was on breads. And I thought, well, I must be allergic to the cheese. So here's the kicker, I'm gluten free now and I can eat Parmesan. What it was is it's on bread and it was on pasta. And, um, it's like I could eat chicken parmigiana, which is cooked chicken with tomatoes and parmesan. Well, the chicken and the tomatoes are usually naturally gluten free, so I could eat parmesan on that. So it was kind of hard to decide what that was, but migraines was a big symptom, and it was what I was eating. Then I said the extreme tiredness, the nausea. Um, the other thing that I found was I have two sons, but I had fertility issues and I did have a miscarriage. Those are two symptoms that one can have when they are gluten intolerant. So again, going back 12 years when I was having kids, that would be it. Now, without a doubt, can I say that, it's not a continuing factor for me? I can't. I'm not trying to get pregnant, not planning to have any more children. So, I will never know whether that was an exact cause, and if I was trying to have a child and my husband and I tried and I got pregnant immediately, then I would know that that was an issue in the past. But it has been linked that those would be symptoms and side effects of having a gluten intolerance, and those were definitely things that happened within the last 12 years. So I'm linking those to it. The other thing that was um, something that I noticed is sometimes they say that if you have celiac disease, your intestines are damaged and it causes a lack of nutrients and people will lose weight. My experience was the complete opposite. My body was sick and it was holding on to weight. And I literally, I had been training for the 10K part of a triathlon, and was training for a good year, and toward the end of that training, I was running 5 to 7 miles every other day. So it was 5 miles and then 7 miles and then 5 miles and then 7 miles because I was working up to that 10K part. And within that 1 year, at least a good 7 months, I didn't drop one single pound. And I know that it was a contributing factor when talking to my doctor that sometimes that lack of losing weight, gaining weight, holding on to that weight can be a symptom of gluten intolerance. And here's the kicker. Yes, I ate healthy then. My husband and I and our family, we've been very healthy in what we eat, not processed foods, but we ate a lot of pasta and stuff. And I actually ended up not doing the triathlon because I got sick. Why? Because I was eating carbohydrates and pasta was one of them. So the more I ate, the sicker I got and couldn't lose weight. And that would have been one of the reasons. Since going gluten free, I've lost 20 pounds. I've always wanted to lose, that was my goal before I hit 40. I wanted to lose 30 pounds. Just happened to find out about the gluten intolerance then, and I've lost 20. So I still have 10 more to lose, and that's kind of my goal. But now I know what the issue was, and things are kind of on a roll. Um, so those were the symptoms that I had, and that's kind of what I'm dealing for now. I will say that again, I've been 1 year, a little over 1 year, diagnosed, and it's a learning process going forward. And here is the part where I said that I'm on the extreme side. I know um, as of July 2013, my family went to celebrate someone's birthday at a restaurant. Because 3 out of the members there had some form of gluten intolerance, celiac and gluten sensitivity, we decided that we would eat outside the restaurant so no one had to go in and risk contamination, cross contamination, and we sat outside. I knew that I had an issue at that time with food, and I knew pizza was not one of the things that I could eat, which is the restaurant we were at. So I ordered a glass of water. there was flour on that glass of water, realized how sensitive I was. Within an hour, I was having the same reaction that I had to the 2 slices of pizza. Had the same reaction. So that was it. I knew that's how sensitive I was. My husband and I came home. We got rid of everything that we knew in our house that had some form of gluten, which meant our household would have to go completely gluten intolerant. And that's what we ended up doing. And the boys have had an issue a little bit, but they understand. They know how sick I got. They know that mom is now a part of their life. I don't have the anger issues. It's like, glass of milk being spilled. I'm not going to try to snap one of their heads off. So everybody, it's a win-win for everyone. Mom's not sick and the boys aren't getting yelled at. So, it was a hard thing because, like I said, I couldn't be a mom. I couldn't be a wife. I just wasn't there for my husband. I wasn't there for my boys. And it was all because of food. And the food issues were just part of it. Um, Through this year, I've learned that not only is it food, but it's also things that I put onto my body, makeups, body washes, shampoos. Um, I had an incident before the triathlon where I was sick for 6 months. I couldn't figure out why I had an ear infection. Went to the doctor. The doctor was like, take Benadryl. That didn't work. Let's go to Claritin. Let's try something, an everyday sort of thing. And what I was using was a hair conditioner. It was a cleansing conditioner called Win, and it contained hydrolyzed wheat protein. And I mean, I didn't know that then. I know that now, that because I was using that every other day until I stopped using that, my symptoms didn't clear up, and I didn't know that. I did stop using it because I'm thinking, okay, what's going on? And you start putting things, connections together. And I did stop using that before I found out I was gluten intolerant, but I just didn't know about it then. It's so new. Um, it really, a couple years ago there wasn't a lot of talk about it, so I just didn't put two and two together. I just thought, okay, I have an allergy to. I thought it was a menthol in that product at the time that was giving me, the nasal congestion and the ear issues, and so when I stopped using it, I thought, okay, menthol, that's what it is. But it was the protein, the wheat protein, now that I know. And um, how sensitive I am was, I discovered too, is in wasn't July, it was after that. Um, July would have been the flour on the drinking glass, so I knew food was an issue. But after that, I was using makeup, and I had started to eliminate some of the makeup because I would notice if I used something that had wheat, I thought, okay, I can't eat it. I'm not eating it, but I'm putting it on my face. I would break out horribly, or um, my skin would get really itchy. So then I started to eliminate certain things. But the last kicker was I used a mascara, and after having the reaction, it was a hydrolyzed wheat protein. I had stroke-like symptoms, and that scared the heck out of me because I used Almay's Get Up and Grow mascara, and it has hydrolyzed wheat protein in it. Didn't realize that. Didn't know that things that I used on the outside of my body would affect. But somehow, maybe just it gets into your eyes. But within an hour of that, um, I was trying to type an email to someone, could not think. I knew in my mind, but could not type, could not get it out, make my hands work, could not think of the word, or how to type the word meat, MEET. Um, it was probably within a matter of 10 minutes that this was going on, where my arm went numb. I couldn't think of how to say that, type that word, MEET. My head started to hurt. Um, I knew I was having stroke-like symptoms. It's just I couldn't speak, couldn't. I was gonna dial my husband's number on my phone. I couldn't think of how to pull it up on the phone. I couldn't. 2 steps, it's unlock the phone and put in, hit a certain button just to dial him. Couldn't do that. At that point, I didn't know how to do 911, and I remember just all of a sudden I felt so tired, and I laid on my bed and I said, "Dear God, please just let me wake up." And that's how I slept for like 2 hours. I woke up. I felt so much better. I didn't know what in the world was going on. Went to the bathroom, took off the makeup. I knew that's what it was because as soon as when I felt better, I looked online, saw that it was hydrolyzed wheat protein, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's it. I said, that's it. Cleaned out all my makeup, got rid of all that stuff, and I'm like, let's start over. And that's the reason I'm starting this channel, because I went online and there's so much conflicting information that I have no clue. I've learned to stick with certified gluten-free products, and that's kind of what you're going to see on this channel. Is if I review anything, it's going to be things that this canary in a coal mine can use with no reaction. And so anybody that is experiencing anything close to what I am, or wants to live a healthy lifestyle, because I think that what we're putting into our bodies somehow, um, the foods that we eat are starting to affect people's bodies. I'm 41. Like I said, I can adverse side effects going back, but I know it's things that we must have eaten 12 years ago. You start noticing the whole grain, whole wheat label on foods, and because my husband and I, we like to run, we like to work out, we um, try to eat well, healthy, and we started buying those things. I buy wheat flour and make homemade bread, and it just seemed like the more as the years went on, I got sicker and sicker and sicker. And that's what like I said, it's my personal opinion. It's what I think has happened. Um, People, like I said, that I know in my family don't have it, but um, relatives that I've married into are starting. I noticed some reaction with my son, my oldest son, who's 12. Um, didn't notice. I mean, he's 12. I thought there might be some preteen things going on, but I've noticed his attitude has improved too. So I'm watching him very closely as you know, in our household we're completely gluten free. He does eat gluten foods on the outside, school lunches, things like that. He will tend to get, and I watch on the days that he eats some things like that. I notice there's a different reaction in his attitudes. So I'm watching my children very closely. That will probably be updated on my channel as things go on. But from going forward, I will be doing more of um, gluten-free products. You can watch my channel for that. Recipes, healthy ways of living. And I hope that you'll continue to watch my channel. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.